Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. This month and for the next few weeks, one of the big things that we're going to be doing is focusing on finding your niche. And we started last week. And if you haven't watched last week, you need to go back and watch my conversation with Steve Wood. You're going to learn a ton. But what we always love to do as you guys are making it into the room, make sure that you say hello. So right there on the comments, you can say hello. Hello to everybody who's joining us via Instagram. Hopefully this goes perfectly. I will find out after the fact if it didn't. If for some reason you have any issues on Instagram, you can also click the link in the bio, go to our Facebook feed, and it'll be perfect over there. So let me say hello to a couple of people who are making their way in. There's Shekinah. Hello, Shekinah. There's Stephanie joining us. Santina, welcome. Cookie is joining us from North Carolina. Jacinda, hello, Jacinda. And there's Kim joining us from Cincinnati. As you're making it in, we love to just know who you are and where you're joining us from. And so being able to say hello on that for us is amazing. Let's see who else is making it in. Omariah from Connecticut. Welcome. So, what are we talking about, and who are we talking to today? Well, for the next few weeks, like I said, I'm going to be doing a series of interviews with some coaches that I really think a lot of that not only have impressed me with their business savvy, but have also impressed me as individuals as well. And so today, who I have for you, and I'm getting ready to bring her in here. Okay. Who I have with me today is Penny. And Penny, her background is actually in academics. She was working in education. I'll let her tell her own story. Let me say this on the front end and why she is a worthy person to listen to. She launched her coaching practice just a few years ago. She's already tripled her income, but that's not just the reason why I would say to listen. You know, obviously, we want to have people who have results, who are being successful as coaches. That's one of the reasons why I bring these people, is that you need to know is that they're successful as coaches and they're successful as business people. But Penny's a person that when you get to know her and know her story, one of the things that's true, because everybody's got stories and they get to be all flashy and exciting. And Penny is all of that. She's brilliant. She's really smart. She's a lot of fun, all of those things. But you're going to walk away and you're going to say, Penny's earned everything that she's got. And that's one of the things that I love about her is her story, inspirational, and her work ethic and all of those things. You'll get to know her. So I'm going to bring Penny in with me right now, and she'll be in just a couple of seconds. Penny, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're so honored that you would spend, I know you're really busy in your own business, and being able to, that's one of the reasons why we had to change the time from what our Mentor Monday usually is, because Penny's actually really busy as a coach. And so Penny, tell our audience who doesn't know you a little bit about yourself and your background before you came into coaching.
Sure. Well, thank you all for being here. My name is Penny Kostaras, and I'm an academic and life skills coach. Back in the day, I started out not really knowing what to do. I was kind of flailing. I never really had a direction. I always knew that I was a person who liked to work and worked hard, but I didn't have a set path in life. I didn't necessarily have, parents who laid the path for me. My parents were immigrants to this country and not, yay, American dream immigrants. It was more like really tough, struggled, poverty level sort of difficulties. And so I never really knew what to do. I never really had a clear path set, but I knew I was good at school and I knew that I wanted to work hard. So I ended up going to college, getting a great education, and finding my way to California, and just trying things out. I'm always working. I'm always trying things out. And in the end, I realized that working for myself was the best. And a common thread throughout my life was always that I was able to help people. I was able to listen really well and help them not only discover what works for them, but just kind of get in touch with their inner strength and their inner power and empower them to be themselves and find their way. People would joke when I was younger. They would call me like, little Oprah or Dr. Phil, the adults, and they were making fun of me. They thought I was nuts, like a little 10-year-old with wisdom, right? But it's just always been a thread in my life. I've always seen the bigger picture. I've always, seen the beauty and the perfection in every person. And it is my calling to bring that out in them. So even though I was flailing and not really sure of a straight path, I'm glad because it led me to where I am today. And you don't know, nothing's better than knowing what you want to do when you know what you don't want to do, right? So sometimes, like Paul says all the time, pain indicates change, right? Pain is a greater motivator than comfort and complacency. So I would always try something, it would bother me. Try something, bother me. Not a fit, not a fit, not a fit. And then I realized, I get to create this. I get to do what I want and make it fit me and not try to make myself fit in other people's molds. So that's a really long story short.
No, it was great. Talk about that crazy part of your story where you were working and having to wear steel toe boots and all of this other stuff to end up opening up the door for an opportunity for yourself.
Oh yeah, I grew up in New England in rural Connecticut, and I had to work in the summers. I had to make money. No one was handing me any money ever. So I got to school. When I got to college, I didn't necessarily want to be there. It wasn't my first, second, third, or fourth choice. But this college, which was amazing, by the way, gave me a great education. They gave me an amazing scholarship. So I ended up going there, but I wasn't necessarily happy to be going there. So the first thing I said when I stepped on campus was, I have to get out of here. I'm going to take my junior year abroad. So the only place to go was Spain because, again, I've never been a person with a plan. There was no room for me in Italian class, so I had to take Spanish, even though I quit Spanish in high school. So I said, all right, if I'm going to take Spanish, I'm going to go to Spain. So that summer before I went to Spain, I worked in a factory that was sulfur-based products. There's a little newsflash. There's a little device in your gas tank. It's a float that measures how much gas you have. So at this factory, we would make those. I would cut them with a bandsaw with my steel toe boots and my glasses on, and I would turn them in this sulfuric machine that would bake them and cake them so that they could be put in the engine, in the tank parts. And I worked second shift. I was like trains passing in the night with my best friends who worked or didn't work during the day. I didn't see anybody, and I made a ton of money that summer so I could go to Spain. I ended up going, learning Spanish, becoming fluent in Spanish, coming back for my senior year. And after that, I drove cross country to California because I wanted to get out of town. So yeah, the theme also is Penny always goes. I go to find new opportunities, but it really works. And you have to do those dirty jobs too. I mean, like I said, you have to do everything to see what you don't want, and that helps guide you toward where you do want to be, what you do want to, who you do want to work with. I mean, it's all experience. And as life coaches, the more experience we have in life, the better we are in serving the people that we work with. Because if you're going to elicit a response in a person, if you're going to help them, step into their greatness and become empowered, I think it's your job to be empowered too. We
Yeah.
have to live that in ourselves. We have to be not only our best selves, but a beacon for what is possible in our clients. So I got a lot of fun stories and a lot of failures, and that's what makes it work.
So let me
Steel
ask
toe
you this.
boots, you gotta do it. Oh, my jewelry was tarnished too. Like sulfur ruined silver. All of my jewelry was tarnished. Like everything was ruined, you guys. It was a great memory. But,
So I'm going to take a slight detour only because you
yeah.
were talking about your upbringing. My upbringing,
Mhm.
I was first generation. Now my mom's family, they were the whites. They were in Kentucky and Tennessee, but my dad's family immigrated from Palestine, and so I was first generation, born in, of all places, in Tennessee, which was interesting. But then we lived for a great while in Missouri, and it was a little agricultural farming town. Over 30% of the city was below the poverty line. My family was in that as well. I think my dad, when he got his full salary, he was making $190 a week, and my mom went and took an hourly job at Walmart so that we could get health insurance. Trying to just make ends meet and everything else. But in a small town, I did learn the value of real hard work being around some people who they were some of the hardest working and dearest people. But I would also say that that in a lot of the people that I was around, there wasn't a real vision past what, like, I know you left and you're like, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to Spain. You worked really hard, went there. Then you were like all the way out to California. Tell me, how is your thought process about yourself? How did it evolve? Because I'm sure that you took great values, but then you're also, when you grow up, I know for me, there's a lot of trauma involved that I kind of experienced later, really put me in the box on what I thought that I was worth, or what I thought was actually possible and everything else. Did your thinking evolve with that? And what's that really meant for your coaching career and coaching business?
Yeah, I definitely think it's evolved because I definitely grew up much like you. There was no vision. Like the greatest person in our town was an insurance salesman, and I didn't even know the path to get there, or an attorney maybe. But what I knew to be true was that I could feel in myself that there was something bigger. Like the room couldn't contain me, essentially. The town couldn't contain me. Even though I didn't know what that meant or what that looked like, I just felt this idea, I felt this need to break away. And that's hard to do when you're not getting the message that you're worth something and you should go be doing that. I was really dumb for thinking that I could leave. My parents thought I'd be back in a month. You know, I mean, they were really good at saying that I was great, but they didn't know what that meant necessarily because everything I did was the first time they had seen it. So it was already always really foreign, always uncomfortable. I was kind of iconoclastic in a lot of ways because they just knew life as they knew life, and I wanted something completely different. So that might make me selfish or ungrateful, or there's a whole lot of negative that comes along with breaking away from what the family knows to be true as well. So I had to do a lot of work in the self-worth department. And your programs have been super helpful too, Paul. I mean, the work that we do in Life Coach Training Institute about, finding your inner worth and finding your voice and even being able to price yourself at your value and not undervaluing yourself. I had to do that work. If we say my profits have increased threefold in the last years, it's because I've had to do the work. I have to say, okay, wait, I'm worth this, because there's a lot of that underlying feeling that I don't know if it ever goes away. I'm always kind of negotiating with myself, like, can I do this? Yes, I can do this. I always kind of second guess and pull back, but that also keeps me humble and not ever, complacent or thinking that I'm better than anyone else, because I know that I'm not, because everything great comes from work. But that worthiness, that idea that you don't have to be what you've seen, you don't have to see it to do it. You can dream it. You can become it. Has been definitely my life's work in the past 3 years, and it's working out really well. And because I've gone through it and I can do it, I can also help elicit that in other people and help them break past their limiting beliefs as well, because we're programmed to think one way, but hey, we can step off the stage at any time. We don't have to dance the dance. We can do whatever it is we dream in our hearts. So yeah, the self-worth has been huge for me. Huge.
That's awesome. Talk about this just for a second, and we'll get to niching, because I here's one of the things that I see some people saying changing paradigms, collapse. I see, yeah, just like Penny, questioning myself. That's awesome. One of the things, and I don't know what your experience of this has been, I hear a lot of people trying to make this breakthrough, coming from whatever they came from. And here's what I can say with giving parents in general the benefit of the doubt, that parents love us and they want the best for us. But it doesn't mean that they always know what the best is for us. Because I've had conversations with my own dad. I'm like, Dad, this is your seed. You thought it was an apple seed, but it ended up being a watermelon. But it's still, and it's funny because I know sometimes even my parents never could really get their hands wrapped around who I was. And because of that, didn't really know how to support it or to speak into it or to be a buzz killer sometimes. What was your experience with trying to come up with, what was your support structure like when you're making these big leaps and changes, and especially going crazy to start your own business? What was your support structure, or did you have to kind of create it? How did you do it?
Yeah, I would say I had to create it because one thing about my parents is that they're wonderful and they did a great job supporting me the best they could. Like my mom is very great at rah rah, like yay, go, great job. Even though I don't understand this, I'm going to say you're doing great at it, you know. And then my dad's like, okay, you know, it's just not really what I needed necessarily, but they did the best they could. So I realized early on that I had to create that system. I had to rope in mentors and people that could help me and follow their lead. And I love taking on, you know, like women as my surrogate moms. If they're strong at one thing, strong at I've got women in my life who are really strong at business, are really my mentors and my idols for family. I just latch onto them and I take from them what I can because there's so much to learn from them.
Yeah.
And so I create that circle around me, that circle of strength and trust, so that I can look to them and be like them. Because it's hard to do life doing the opposite of what your parents showed you in certain respects. You know what I mean? Because there
Yeah.
is no roadmap. So a lot of it you have to imagine, but it's a lot easier when you see someone doing it. So my husband too, I mean, he's been an amazing rock for me. He's just very business savvy and very I don't know, he's got this calm about him that has helped me immensely in my journey as well. So I think picking and choosing the people around you that you know are not only successful but are really strong role models for you to model your life after, I think is important if you don't necessarily have those systems in place to start out with. Just because you don't start out with them doesn't mean they're unavailable. You have to go out and seek them and find them, and there are people willing to help you. Did I answer the question, Paul?
Coming back now.
Good.
I got called off set for just a second,
Oh,
so
no
I
problem.
apologize for that. That's super helpful. So let's get back to niche, because that's what a lot of people are thinking about. But I felt like those important parts that, again, I hear those stories a lot. So super important for people to really grasp that we've all had a journey into this, that the fear part, the not part, the all of the programs that, unfortunately, some people who were well-meaning people, but sometimes they spoke limiting things over us. We've all experienced them. And so to I have one of my mentors always talks about thinking. He's like, if your thinking can't get you to where you go, then you can just simply have another thought. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people to believe that, your thinking has gotten you to where you've gotten so far, but to get to the next place, then you're going to have some new thinking, and probably creating some relationships to kind of like to stand alongside you as you're doing those things. So I think that's really important parts of your story. So in the niching side, tell me what your process has been. So you got your coaching practice up.
Mhm.
What was your process in actually discovering your niche? Did your background, of course, you have a background, an academic background and everything else. Did your background, influence or inform, or anything in your background has influenced or informed how you would choose your niche?
Yeah, definitely. First, I loved being a student when I was younger. That's where I got a real sense of control and accomplishment. And I'm naturally good at school, I would say. And then I'm not so naturally good at school. I mess a lot of things up, terrible with time management, but I'm good at the content stuff. So I did well in school, and then as I was substitute teaching, and I would always find myself kind of at the front of the class talking about life stuff with the kids instead of just, teaching them the concepts. And I would always go off page and teach my students Greek because I know Greek, just like teaching them other, like just always kind of doing my own thing. And then I was simultaneously, I was working with Weight Watchers, and I was a weight loss coach for them. So, that weight loss is just like life coaching, right? Getting the the client to commit to what they want to achieve and the steps that they need to get there, and them speaking that so they'll actually do it rather than you telling them what to do. So as I was building my coaching practice, I took the elements of what I loved from working with students and what I loved from my experience with Weight Watchers, but also what I learned in the program to create programs that are coaching centered, but also around academics, because I saw students as the ideal life coach candidates because they're in this world called school, and there's a lot of room to feel empowered in school. And I think school doesn't necessarily give kids the tools to be empowered. So I wanted to bring in those life coaching tools to them so that they could really feel great about the efforts that they're putting in, but also not waste those 12 years in school. Because how are you going to be a kid who struggles in their 8 to 12 years of school, and then suddenly you're an adult like, I'm going to conquer the world now? If you felt bad in your school experience, you're not, right? So I wanted to bring in these feelings of empowerment, motivation, accomplishment into their regular school life so that they can step out into the world with these strong foundations already.
That's
So
cool.
I merged it.
One of the things that you said, so if I go back in time and you're kind of like, you're like, hey, as I've gone through this process, I'm definitely going to coach young people, or I'm going to coach students. That's what you kind of decided pretty early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I decided that because I had I had adult clients too, and I love working with adults. But there's something about students that is just really, it just really lights me up. I love working with youth. They're so energetic and they're quick to change, and I don't know, it's just really a lot of fun for me. I coach adults, but not as much as students, and I feel like that's just where I was led, because they say, be who you needed when you were younger. And I needed a me when I was younger. So I was really great at school, but I needed that extra part, that life part, that get your stuff together, Penny. Here's what you're missing. And because I didn't have that, I created that for my younger self, for my inner self, but also to share with youth now so that they can feel great about themselves and not have to wait, wait till they're adults and do all the trials and tribulations and weird jobs like me. They can just start out with it.
So if somebody was following you on your journey and they were watching, because it's like some people are like, well, how did you know how you were going to choose this group of people? What's 3 things that you would recommend to like a new coach that's kind of like, I'm wrestling between a couple of different possibilities, and I just don't feel like I've been able to commit. What's maybe 3 keys that you found that's like, hey, here's how you actually find your thing and you find your people?
I would say the first thing is, what makes you fall asleep at night without a thought in your mind? Like, when I hit the pillow at night, I'm not worried about anything. I know that the group I'm working with is the right group because they give me more energy. I feel I can work all day, literally, because I feel energized by them, and they just give me more life rather than draining the life out of me. So I would say, if anything's trembling inside of you when you think about who to work with, if there's like that trepidation or that trembling or that insecurity or worry, it's probably not the best niche to pick, right? You want your niche to be a natural flow and a natural extension of who you are. I would say that's first and foremost. Second, I would say, where is there a need? I found a need in students because I started out, substitute teaching, like I said, and then when I stopped a long-term assignment being my students' math teacher, and they said, Ms. Kostaras, but we still need you. We want to see you. And I said, all right, come to my house and we'll do tutoring. But there was that feeling of like having to be with them. They missed me and I missed them, and I really wanted to keep that connection. And yeah, could I have chosen to just work with adults only? Sure. But students needed me, and I could tell. And I've worked with adults, and adults are really good at talking themselves out of not needing you. But students are not good at that, right? They understand when they have someone who's helping them, they feel great immediately, and they let you know, because they don't BS. Kids don't BS. They can tell a fake. They can spot a fake, right? So I could tell that the impact I was having on them was really profound, not only on them, but their parents. I was helping the family system in general. So that's what helped me stick with it. And by the way, just because I work with students doesn't mean that I don't work with their parents. I send a weekly email to parents, and some of my students are on that list too. And the life coaching strategies I talk about with my students, I extend the email to parents, and I offer them to think about it in their own lives. So I'm not strictly coaching students. I bring the parents into the conversation too, so they can take it with them into the home and work on the topic of the week and reflect in their own lives, where could they be more motivated? Or, if I do a wheel of life, let's say with my students, I offer it up to the parents too to consider, because I think everybody can improve from the work and everyone can benefit from it. So
that's great. So in your keys, one of them that you mentioned was passion. The people who give you juice are a great indicator for people that you could possibly work with. What's a couple of other things, or in case I missed anything, what are a couple of other things that you're like, hey, here's some real keys to help you land who that person's supposed to be?
Totally. Where's the juice? And then I said, where's the need, right? I could tell students needed me, because there's always a need. If you're picking a niche, like our friend last week, helping guys date, like that's a need. He felt that in his own life, and he fulfilled that need. Same thing with me. I saw that students needed this, and I served it. And I would also say, okay, what's another thing to help you pick your niche? I would say it's okay to try a few too. Like if you want to experiment and try them out and see what fits, there's absolutely everything right with that as well. Maybe you don't know your niche until, again, the other things that you try don't necessarily fit. And I would say don't be afraid to experiment either. But I think that the further you drill down in your niche, the more of an expert and the more sought after you'll become as well. You don't need to worry about going global. I mean, at first, try some things out if you're trying to pick, between 3 niches. But then once you start feeling that rhythm and the flow with one, really nail it down. And your client will produce the verbiage. They'll produce the words that you can latch onto, that you can use in your marketing and in your emails and in your Instagram posts, to use the same words that they use, so that you call to them, literally call to them on Facebook and through the universe, so that they can find you.
So let me ask you 2 questions about what you just said. One is, obviously you're niching down after you've begun. Did you find that things changed after you first started working with those people? That maybe you adjusted your niche, or because what I find is a lot of people are like, well, until everything's perfect and until I fully know, I can't start. How certain were you when you started, and then what adjustments did you have to make after you started?
Oh, I'm constantly adjusting. And the thing about having a niche is, once you find it, there is a whole universe within that niche that you can explore. So, for example, I started out as a math tutor. Just let's call me an algebra tutor from, pre-algebra, algebra, geometry. And then I realized that younger kids needed me. And then I realized older kids needed me. And then I was helping the older kids with their college applications and their personal essays. And that personal essay is all about life coaching. You're drawing out the story within the student, and they're realizing inner truths that they never had to stop and think about before. So then I realized that, wow, okay, my top student is struggling with organization and time management. Oh, everybody else is too. All right, we need to take care of that. So I built a whole online course for time management, organization, and study skills. Oh, wait, online isn't enough. We need to meet once a week. So then I built a program to meet once a week live and talk about, plan for the week ahead, and also talk about a topic relevant to life, to student life, and to their overall lives. So then I built that program. So it's always, I find that when you're in your niche, you're guided by the needs of your clients. So everything that I'm creating, it's with their needs in mind. I constantly am asking myself, how can I serve them? How can I help them fix this for themselves? How can I guide them? And like I said, within that universe of your niche, there are untold stories, compartments, corners that you can peek around and continue to dig deep, deep, deep into them. And there's no stopping me, right? I'm just like, my husband will say, like, why is it that every time you have an idea, you have to execute it? Can't you just relax? But it's because I know that it's valuable and I want to test it out and I want to try it. And but it's always of service to the client. And yeah, my clients are students, but they're also parents, right? I see myself as doing really sacred work, helping the family, come together and not be stressed about school and life. I mean, it really matters. So, but yeah, when you drill down, there's so much to discover within that drill down.
How are you keeping a pulse? We were talking about email a little bit earlier. How are you keeping a pulse on what the needs are? And how are you staying really engaged? Obviously, for the clients that you have a program. I'll let you talk about that in just a second, and you coach them weekly or whatever. But obviously, you've got people who have been interested in what you do, and how are you engaging, how are you connecting with those people, and how are you getting a pulse on what you think the next need is?
Well, I engage via my email list, and part of me in also knowing and staying on the pulse is also what I see. So I have this observation part that I do on my own, and I try to see trends across students and families, but I also will outright ask them. So in my emails, for example, I send a weekly email and I talk about a topic relevant to student life, and I also add in there any programs or workshops that I have going on. But at the end, I'll always ask them a question like, how are you going to incorporate X that I talked about today in your life? I'd love to hear from you. Write back and let me know. And they'll write back and let me know. And within that, if a mom or a dad is writing back to me, they'll say, oh, I'm having a really hard time with X. And that's what allows me to understand a little deeper. Sometimes I'll send them surveys too. I've done that, just a quick little survey like, hey, what are your main struggles? And it could be open-ended, or I have them check a few things off. And that's where I know to speak to those topics. And I pull the students in the same way because, for example, in my Sunday meetings, I'm asking questions constantly, just like you learn how to do in your life coach program. The questions, right, allow them to come up with their answers. So it's from there. And then I see across the board the trend too. For example, I had to be really nimble whenever all the students went home to learn in these last 3 months, right? That was just a major shockwave throughout everybody's life. And I saw it coming and I said, uh-oh, public schools are not going to be ready for this. I've been teaching online for 2 years, but they have not. And with all the bureaucracy and all the people involved in school, I knew they would be slow to get up and running. So I created my own little morning school. And within a day, I had a structure, I had an outline of my classes, I had the payment plan, and I was able to send that email and 50 kids signed up. And I had my classes going before the schools even knew how to turn on Zoom. We were up and running by Wednesday of that first week in shelter in place. And I had everyone signed up because I knew it would be an issue. So I'm constantly monitoring, but I'm also checking in as well via email because you don't want to lose those people you have contact with, right? Yeah. You become, as a coach, you become someone that they know, like, and trust. So when you can keep that, that's one thing I really want all of you as new coaches to understand is that because someone works with you and then maybe decide, okay, I'm good, let's pause for a little bit. They don't have to completely leave you. Keep them on an email list, keep communicating with them, because when you're top of mind, when you're in front of them in their inbox, and the inbox is a very intimate space where you can scroll through social media super easily, but when you're in someone's inbox, you occupy really prime real estate that they pay more attention to generally than social media. So my email list has allowed me to become even more of a go-to person and an expert for the families that I serve, because they know that they're going to hear from me and they know I'm going to deliver value. And that's the whole point. So they can count on me and they can be honest and they can write back and say, here's what I'm struggling with, or here's what I'm working on. Thanks for asking. So we build that connection and rapport through that means of email as well, which I find has really changed the game for me. I just started that email list about a year ago, and I've been working for 14 years. I said, let me just communicate regularly, and it's made a huge difference.
That's cool. And so when everything, because we were just having a quick chat about this before we came on, you said you sent you said something about you had a small email list, you sent 3 emails. What tell that story.
Yeah, so I was, again, students learning from home did not work so well. For those of you with kids at home, you've known it. I have 2 kids of my own in 4th grade and in 2nd grade, and it was rough, even for us, like the cobbler's kids have no shoes, like Penny's kids do not want to learn from Penny either. But, so I knew parents would be struggling as well. So I started my little morning classes for kindergarten, 1st grade through 8th grade. And then I saw a need in math too, so I opened up some Algebra 1 prep classes to get ready for next fall. And let's call it 3 emails in 3 email successions, right? Telling everybody about the morning programs and my algebra programs. I made almost $25,000.
Okay, everybody, $25,000. But how big is your email list?
In the 300s. It's not even that big.
So this isn't crazy. I try to tell, there's 2 things that I have tried to stress over the last few months since we've been in this global pause. One was, if you will see the opportunity and not freak out like everybody else is doing, there is an opportunity, there's money to be made, there is a need. There's something that everybody's going to pay attention to that they weren't aware of before. And if you can be that person to step up. But some coaches were kind of like, well, I don't think anybody wants to coach right now. No, like that's crazy. Like that's really crazy. Like, and you don't have to have big email lists. What Penny's talking about is because she's nurtured and has started just like communicating with people, asking the questions, how can I serve you, and giving people things of value. And when the time was right, which is what this last few months has been, where they really needed someone, the trust and rapport has already been built. This is not like, oh, I sent 3 emails and like a ridiculous story. What we're talking about here is that Penny's done the work of relationship and has made a connection. You don't need an email list of 5,000 people to make 25 grand. If you're doing the work of relationship, these are the keys that Penny's sharing with all of you, that I try to, sometimes you just need a perfect world example so that you can say this stuff actually works. Nurture relationship, find out what people need, serve the need, and when the time is right, because you're looking for a perfect moment for someone to come into a coaching relationship. There has to be a pain threshold where there's enough trust in the relationship, but there's got to be enough want to on the person to say, I need this now and I'm ready. And it's hard to say when that's going to happen. It might be a week away, but it might be months down the road. And it's just really hard to say. And what Penny's done in this, it's brilliant. But this is like, if you can get stuff from this today, it's the simplicity of it, that it's all about relationship. I had an email this morning from someone who said, when is it appropriate to start being vulnerable and being open about our life while at the same time not trying to mentor people? And I'm like, well, when I saw the email, it was like, well, we can't really tell you when the appropriate time, because it's about relationship. And so if you're building a relationship and there's openness that's coming, the dynamic of the relationship for some people, if you can into it, you can be sensitive, if you can listen and ask questions, then you'll be right there at the right space at the right time, because it really is about relationships. So, and that's so encouraging, hopefully for everybody who's listening, that it's like, relationships not rocket science. In some ways it can be harder if you don't want to listen, if you don't want to actually engage with people. That can make your business really hard. But if you'll actually listen and not manipulate people, just listen to what they need, and you build something around what they're telling you. And that's how you actually make your adjustments. You don't have to be 100% certain when you start. That's the other part of it that I'm hoping that everybody's listening. You're probably never going to get to 100% certainty, and you're always going to be making adjustments. And so these are things that hopefully you guys are learning as you're listening. There was a question that I saw here. Stephanie says, what if you are finding your audience is hard to define? It's more generalistic, aka women feeling stuck. What would you say, Penny?
Then I would say feeling stuck where? It's just like if you're trying to write something and if you get a little bit of writer's block, take what you have written down and say, what do I mean by what I have written down already? So women feeling stuck, what do I mean by feeling stuck? In their personal life, in their careers, in their families, with their growth, with their potential. Start brainstorming where they could possibly be stuck. And then find some women, like your ideal women or women that you know in your category or age range of people, and ask them, hey, how you doing? How are things? Are you feeling stuck in any places? And let them produce the words that will help you to pare down and niche down into where you want to be. Because women can feel stuck in everything. In a 24-hour period, I'm stuck in 100 different places. So where is it that you feel compelled to help women unstick themselves? Do you have, a strong feeling about helping them get on track with relationships, with career, with family, whatever it might be? Because as women, we get stuck a lot, but if you can be that person that identifies where we might be stuck and then takes and just kind of groups or categorizes those words into bigger groups, you can then start speaking the language and drawing potential people who will resonate with that message. Hopefully that helps, but I feel like when you're general, like feeling stuck, try to define what you mean by that first, and then see if you get some hits.
That's genius. Yeah, that was perfect. Let's talk about Wise Student really quick.
Okay.
Tell people how you've kind of developed this program and kind of, not that you have to give your trade secrets away, because you're killing it. But how have you developed this program? Obviously, it's targeted at young people, but at the same time, your parents, because how have you? What's the program look like? And what's it like to actually coach youth? Because I get that question a lot of like, can you coach young people? And obviously you're doing it. So tell us a little bit about that.
I started Wise Student because I felt like students really needed to tap into their inner wisdom. I felt like they were going through school sort of, with eyes at half mast, just going through the motions, not really excited or engaged. So I wanted to give them the tools, the tips, the strategies to help them kind of perk up around their student life, but also realize that the student life is their life, right? Your first job, let's say, is being a student. So you really get to lay the foundation and decide how you're going to show up in the world based on how you show up in school. You don't have to be a straight A student. You don't have to have all the answers, but you can engage in certain processes and habits that make you more effective, more productive, and feel better about yourself and more confident. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to produce these little soldiers of confidence and empowerments to push them out into the world as adults to help this next generation do better than we're doing and better than the people before us, right? I think that's our job, just to kind of help everyone step into their greatness and be the best possible selves they can be. And I saw that school was the major umbrella that all these young people were housed under. I said, wait, how can I make you feel great about school and therefore life? So that's where Wise Student started.
In the structure of the business, you're doing this all virtually. You're doing this with an online program. What's that kind of look like?
I have students that I see one-on-one or one-to-many, 1 to 2. I do small groups online or classes online. It's a little bit of everything, in person and online. Because I saw that, you were asking earlier, how do you see things? And I saw that online learning was going to be the new wave. And I also saw that time was running out for me. There's only so much one-on-one time we have. We have a finite amount of hours in our lives. So I had to say, okay, how can I multiply myself without losing myself? And that meant going online and having more of a one-to-many in classes. But I feel like when I say students were just kind of going through school and going through the motions, I mean, how many people do you know, and maybe yourselves, felt unsatisfied with how you performed in school, and like how you did in school doesn't necessarily relate to how you are as an adult. I've seen too many students decide how they are based on their school performance. Make decisions about, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I'll never be a this, I'll never be a that. And it's simply not true. With work and with the proper skills and practicing the study habits and the techniques, you can be great at anything. You can learn anything, right? So that's where I saw that students really needed that mindset work, that work that we do as life coaches. They needed that as well, because you can't go in and have this terrible mindset about how you perform as a student and then go out and crush life. They're completely related.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're empowered in your school years and your youth, you'll also feel empowered as an adult to be and create whatever it is that you want.
That's awesome. What's next for you in your coaching practice? Is there any new things that are opening up, or what's that look like maybe for the next year or whatever? What are you working on?
What I'm working on now is I'm working on another branch where I'm going to teach other professionals, other educators, other tutors, college coaches, academic coaches. I'm going to teach them to do what I do. I'm going to share my programs with them. I'm going to share, the business model and how it's worked for me, and I'm going to help them build their own business. So that's a whole other branch. So I'm going to become a business coach, right? If I'm an academic coach, life coach, success coach, now I'll be a business coach to them too. And, helping them get their business and their life off the ground. Because when you can find something that helps you feel fulfilled and you know that you're of service to other people, I go all day. I never stop. And like I said, I have 2 kids. I have a family. I have stuff to do, but I'm still always energized and ignited by the work that I do. And like I said, there's only one me. We have finite hours, but I know that there are other people who could do my job, maybe even better, and touch the lives of students and families in their own right. And I want to give them the skills and the opportunity to do that too, to not only make a great life for themselves and a business where they feel in control and they can, decide the course of their life, their earnings, never have a ceiling, and just, blow it out of the water, their wildest dreams, but also to affect such change and growth and empowerment in the lives that they touch. So that's what I'm doing next.
That's awesome. I think that's killer. Shekinah says, Penny, this is excellent. You've clarified a lot of my confused thoughts. That's awesome.
Thanks, Shekinah. I'm glad.
Hey, what I'm going to do really quickly, I'm gonna pay the bills. I'm going to hide Penny just for a minute, okay? And then Penny's going to come back. And then if you guys have any other specific questions for her that she can help you with, we want to be able to do that. So let me just share with you what's coming up really quick. And July 10th through the 12th, we're having our next online coaching boot camp. You can actually get trained and certified in a weekend. And what are we covering during that time? Well, we're going to be covering a number of things. During that boot camp, we're going to be talking about what is coaching, how to listen on a transformational level, the steps of a coaching session, building a coaching framework that gets results, focused, effective coaching that cuts out the fluff, high impact coaching, models of coaching, core skills and characteristics for breakthrough coaching, best practices for ethical coaching, how to ask powerful questions, how to build coaching relationships that last. Now, some of you have actually been through our program before, and you're just kind of like, well, Paul, what's actually the difference between this and what I've already done online or what you guys have available online? Yes, we have a life coach certification course that is fully online, on demand. We've kind of created a program, and we did this for years ago to be pioneers in online education for coaches, specifically for coaching. We wanted to help people get trained and certified, and we were ahead of the game. A lot of people weren't really into online stuff when we started. Now we're the largest life coach training program in North America, and we're the #1 program online. That program is only $195. It's on demand, self-paced. You can begin your training even today. You can get enrolled in about 90 seconds. But what we found, especially in this season, is that some people increasingly have been asking me, "Hey, Paul, is there more? There's something beyond this? Do you ever do anything that's live?" And that's why we wanted to make this program available in a boot camp format. Now, the boot camp is different from the life coach certification course because not only is it live, but it's expanded training that we don't offer in our current life coach training course. There's live Q&As. There are live coaching practice demos. Those are the things that really make it really different. Life coach certification is included. The price tag's ridiculous, okay? The price tag's only $247. You're going to spend the weekend with me and a bunch of other people from all over the world. About 20% of our students are actually outside the United States. We start on a Friday night. We start off with 2 hours on Friday. Then we do 2 8-hour sessions. There are breaks. So we're not just like wearing you out. Listen, I'm going to keep you awake. You're going to be feeling fully alive, empowered. You're going to walk away courageous. We're going to fill you full of courage. We're going to help you get some mindset breakthrough as you're going through there. I show you some of the simple ways that you get breakthrough with clients. We really want you to walk away not only with coaching proficiency on how to coach, but we want you to walk away feeling like, I know that I can absolutely do this. If you go online to our website, ilifecoachtraining.com, or if you're on Instagram and you click the bio link, you'll see a link to get right to Jumpstart. You can see some testimonials. If you go on our YouTube channel, you'll see some testimonials from, because we just started doing the boot camps just a couple of months ago. And the testimonials are phenomenal. The people who walk away and they're like, wow, I actually watched people who had never coached before walk away on a Sunday night coaching like they've been doing it for years. That's what our goal is for this boot camp. It is going to be next weekend. It is the 10th through the 12th of July. So we're going to you're going to have your 4th of July, okay? But come the next week ready to work, and we're going to help you do that. Again, if you want more information about that, if you want to get signed up today, you can do that immediately. Again, everything, it's expanded on top of everything that we do with our life coach certification course, but you can get your certification and everything knocked out completely in one weekend. And so that's what we have for you. So I don't know why we keep going to a black screen, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring Penny back in. Enough selling as far as that stuff is concerned. And what we'll do for just at least a few minutes is that we're going to answer any questions that you have that maybe we didn't cover. Let's see. Shekinah says, I am in this boot camp. This is online. Please send me the details. Well, if you'd like, just go to our website, ilifecoachtraining.com, and that's where the information, you'll actually see it on the main page there. More information about that. Marie says, this was very helpful. You are awesome, Penny.
Thanks, Marie. You're awesome.
And do us a huge favor by liking and sharing this post, because it tells Facebook we're doing a good job. And that's how the Facebook algorithm actually works. Any questions for Penny before we head out for the day? I'm going to go back in time and see if I missed any questions from earlier. Let's see. All right. I just want to make sure. I don't think that I missed any questions. Okay, cool. You're welcome, Shekinah. Any other questions before we head out for the day? No questions? I think we did a great job. Penny, you've been gold on this. Oh, here comes a question. Let me get to this. Stephanie says, how long did it take for you to feel your initial efforts led to a return on investment?
I think that's a great question. And it depends on what your return on investment is. For me, money doesn't guide me. I was always doing what I enjoyed and letting that path follow. I would follow that path so that the money came after. And it's just an aftershock of the joy I feel from what I do. So how long for you to feel your initial efforts led to ROI? I'm always getting a return on my investment no matter what. I always feel confident about what I'm doing because my purpose is always to serve my clients and my audience. That purpose leads to my fulfillment no matter what.
Wow.
Money comes after the joy comes. It'll be a natural result, right? It's the natural consequence of doing good work and loving what you do. You have to love it first, then you can do it well, and then you'll get that physical ROI, the money. And I was always making money. I was always charging and making money. That business transaction is always in place. But what makes it feel better is that I don't do what I do for the money. I do it for my own sense of helpfulness and self-worth. It's healing to me, my younger self. I'm being the person that I needed when I was younger, but it also brings me extreme joy to help people find that inner strength to empower themselves and live their best lives and step into their greatness. So I would say not long to get my ROI physically because I was always charging and getting. And you can do that too. You charge the client, they give you the money. But to feel that satisfaction that allows you to go and do and produce and create and reach out and touch your audience, I've always led with that first. And that's what allows me to continue to deliver value and be in touch with the people that I can serve.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Wow, that was gold. Like if people just tuned in, they only got that. That was such gold. That can absolutely change your life. That right there. And it was really good.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's see. One says, thank you so much both for your time, Penny. Thanks for sharing your experience and process. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Kim says, great job. Let's see. What else do I see on here? Mariah says, I love that. That is why you've been so successful. I'm also an educator, and I love helping and teaching. Cool. And Shekinah says, Penny, money is second in doing what I love, so you really answer all my questions. Confirmation of being a life coach. Cool.
Yeah. And what you do and the programs that you install, they take money. Creating my course took money. I had to, hire someone to film it, and it took my time to write it and edit it. I mean, you have subscriptions to, your email list and to be on Thinkific, you have to pay the monthly, there's always a payout to run your business as well. But I don't even calculate those, honestly. I'm just constantly being led by what I want to do, and anything that has to come on has to tack on. I don't have a lack mindset. I know that the funds will be there. I know that if I wish it, I will be able to also get the money to do what I want to do and produce what I want to produce. You just have to have that will first, and the money comes from that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. Marie says, wow, that was powerful. Cool. Yeah, it was. Awesome. Any final questions before we head out for the day? Thanks for going in a little bit of overtime with us, Penny. But man,
Pleasure.
it was gold.
Thanks.
All right. We are going to assume that is everyone that wanted to ask a question or share. Penny, it was an amazing time. Thank you so much for being willing to share not only your time but your passion. I mean, it's kind of I remember the very first time that I just watched you on a brief little bitty video. I told you, and I don't know if you remember it, but I remember when I saw it, and I'm like, this is gold, and you're gonna crush it. I could just see it instantly. And so it's fun watching, some a couple of years later, watching the you scratching the surface. I wouldn't say that you've come to fulfillment yet. Obviously, when you're like talking about some of the new things that you are like, hey, you know, what you've actually developed is a signature program and essentially a business that someone else with your background could actually do if you've done all of the work. And I mean, it's incredible, really, where you can go with it. And so I'm excited in seeing that for you. You know, unmistakable passion. There's just no doubt in who you are, the authenticity of who you are, the genuineness, all of those things shine through. So there's no doubt that if that you are going to be successful and that you are successful. And so I want you to know that we appreciate you pouring into the people who are listening and everything else. I think that people got a lot more than what they were expecting during this time today. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Paul. It was a pleasure being on, and thank you for your incredible program too. I've learned so much from you. So you guys, Paul has me on, but I've been following him for years now, and a lot of the things that we were talking about earlier, like inner work and the transformation inside of you and feeling that self-worth, I relate to Paul on so many levels, his story when he was younger and how he became successful and broke through. So Paul, thank you, because I've learned so much from you in these past years that we've been working together, and I trust you as a mentor and a confidant, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you.
That means a ton. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
Well, cool. All right. Let me see. There's a few people who are saying hi. There's Santos from Stockton saying, this was very enlightening, even though I'm catching the last of your beginning, the last of the broadcast. Cool. Oh, let me see if we can sneak this one question in from one. She says, what was a process that you went through in developing your online course?
Okay. So my course, and if you have a course in you, you'll feel this too. My course was alive in me and I couldn't tame it. There was something in me that had to produce this course and it wouldn't let me stop it. So that's first and foremost. So the process was the course was bred and it had to be born. So even, I mean, and when I first thought about it, one of our family members had passed away. I was grieving. It was awful, but it still had to be born out of me and come to the public. So but that was the beginning of my process, having this idea that I could not shake away. Then I would just, step one, I don't recommend this to my students, but I would sit in my bed, I would sit upright and write everything out by hand like a maniac, like crazy handwriting. And then I would bring it all onto the computer. I consulted with a few of my friends that I trust in you know, just the organization and process. And then I had to find a videographer. We collaborated with how to shoot the shots. I mean, we both had never done this before practically, but his name is Ron. He was brilliant and an amazing partner. So I had to find the videographer. Then there was the editing process. But you have to create the content. You have to create the slides. You have to film it. You have to, you know, hair and makeup done by Penny, filming by Ron, you know, but it came out super professional and wonderful. If you go to wisestudent.com, like Paul has in the link, you'll see some of my videos up there under Wise Student 101. You can see them. But the course came from a need. Again, I saw students across the board struggling with the same things. And I said, wow, you guys are struggling with the same stuff that I did when I was a student, and nobody has taken care of this yet. I need to take care of it now. You need me to take care of it so that we can move forward, that you can feel great. So yeah, the process is manyfold, and it took a long time to do. And Paul would even say too, like, don't spend too much time on your course. But it was a labor of love. And by the way, I did it knowing that it would live forever, because that course is now my flagship course. I can use it now to teach other professionals to build the business of their own and to coach their own students in that way. So I really wanted to make it right the first time. I wanted to incorporate video because my audience, my students, you know, like video. That is their medium of choice. But that's kind of the process. It started with not being able to be contained. It was just a higher calling, so I had to do it.
All right. And somebody's asking, what platform do you use?
I use Thinkific. And that's because Paul recommended it to me. I asked him on one of our calls, on a Wednesday calls, what platform do you use? And he told me Thinkific. I know there are other options like Kajabi and whatever else, but Thinkific fit my needs the best. And the price point was right, and also just what it can do. I might explore other options at some point, but for right now, it's serving me quite well, and I like their ability to help if I need assistance. So,
Yeah,
Thinkific.
that's cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll call all of this to a close. Listen, everyone, appreciate you guys all immensely for spending some time. Again, once Penny, we really appreciate you and your expertise and brilliance. Love getting to have you on here and watching you shine and just doing what you do. I'm sure in your practice, pouring water on all of these people and helping them grow. It's just really awesome. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks everyone for being here. It was a pleasure. If you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to hide Penny. Just one more thing for those of you, again, if you have not gotten trained and certified, let me just remind you that open enrollment for the boot camp has started, and it's going to be July 10th through the 12th. And July 10th through the 12th is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What are we going to be covering? We're going to be covering all of this. It's an expanded form of our life coach certification course. Basically, it's a lot of things that we don't cover in the life coach certification course. How to list it on a transformational level, the steps of a coaching session, building a coaching framework that gets results. We're going to show you what are the lenses that every coach should be wearing. What is the heart? How should you be approaching coaching? How should you be seeing people? Core skills and characteristics for breakthrough coaching, best practices for ethical coaching, how to ask powerful questions, how to build coaching relationships that last. There's a lot that we cover. It is live. It's expanded upon what you've already learned in the Life Coach Certification course. If you guys have already gotten that and gotten certified, if you're an alumni, we actually have an alumni discount, so you can take that. We have live Q&As at the end of each one of those sessions, and there's live coaching practice demos. So you'll walk away on a Sunday night with everything that you need. Life coach certification is included. You can take your exam, get everything knocked out in one weekend. And so just want to invite you to join us for that if you haven't already gotten trained and certified. This is the end of Mentor Monday. Listen, appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.